What up? It's D the Chicken King, chilling with a chicken wing. How y'all doing? Just thought I'd do a little something different today. Got a different reaction. Instead of your typical hip hop video, music video, something of that nature, I'm gonna do like a compilation of rappers speaking about Eminem. But it's entitled "Why Don't Rappers Respect Eminem?" So I kind of wanted to see how that goes and see what these people are talking about. I'm assuming they're gonna have the game in there in that Snoop Dogg clip. So I'm already assuming that, but I'm also interested to see what else is in the video. As my respect level for Eminem has grown from where it was at, I just want to see why the hate towards this man and his legacy, what he's built within hip hop, the way he drops his music. So I just want to see if there's anything outside of the white aspect of why they may hate him. So hopefully they just give me some different points, some different talking points, make it very interesting, and that way I can keep that open line of communication. But if it's this normal, oh, he's white, that's why. Come on, bruh. Skill is skill. And you got to give it up to this man because he has been on top of the game as far as lyric-wise, metaphors, punchlines, flow, keeping himself up to date. He's always been up there, top notch. So there's no reason why you can hate on his lyrical ability and the way he raps. So definitely want to check this out right now. Let's dive into it, see what it's all about.
If you notice in hip hop, Eminem is the
And of course
only
they start
rapper
with the game.
that nobody ever wants a problem with, including myself, man. Eminem is like the most lyrically insane. Even when I was going at 50 and me and Dre wasn't seeing eye to eye, man, I stayed away from the white dude. He a problem. I don't think it's a rapper he won't slay, and you don't even want a war with Eminem.
I used to think Eminem was better than me. He not. He's not. I'm not saying I want to smoke with Eminem. I'm saying I want to smoke with
Come on,
Eminem,
bruh.
him and him.
Since the early to mid 2000s,
Yeah, I gotta say that was just a ploy to try to sell his album. It didn't work. It didn't work. Come on, man.
name Eminem has been as synonymous with hip-hop as Hulk Hogan was with wrestling or Michael Jordan was with basketball. Hovering above his closest rivals as the best rapper of all time, his immovable position in the culture cache has meant that even after his prime, Eminem emerged as the most popular male artist of the 2010s. But across all industries, it's natural that the most popular person is always going to catch a degree of hate. Yet in recent years, it seems that the hate for Eminem has gone beyond being too cool to admit to being a fan and veered into disrespect. Now, hip-hop's perception of M has mutated to the point where he's now as discredited as he is celebrated.
Somebody said right now Eminem is the king of rap. Why would you say he's not?
You got to come with a better name. I ain't playing Eminem in my car. You playing me yours? You sliding around playing Eminem in your car, you and your old lady?
For starters, we have the
And that used to actually be one of my arguments. Like, I would literally say, I don't play him in my car. But then you're discrediting the man's work, because somebody really is. Somebody's actually listening to this man in their car. Like, just because you don't play him in yours does not disprove the fact that he's one of the greats in hip-hop. Like, I think at this point in going through his catalog, it's been proven to me that he's been dope since he's came out. It's just, is he your cup of tea? No. But he's always been dope. And somebody's going to listen to it. Obviously, millions upon millions of people are actually vibing with it. I just think that argument is stupid as hell now. And I'm mad that I even used it.
plain and simple facts of his success. When you're on top for as long as M has been, there's only one place to go. Let's not forget that M began as a counterculture figure, brazenly knocking down doors and thumbing his nose at every attempt at censorship. But now, he's an artist who's more likely to launch an NFT collection, sell spaghetti from his own gimmick restaurant, and produce music for a Marvel movie franchise. Now, it isn't entirely fair to say that Eminem has had it easy. After all, he's faced an uphill battle from the start of his career. Back then, hip-hop media hated Eminem. The Source infamously refused to award him with more than 4 mics for any album, while XXL took aim at him with a scathing cover story in 1999 entitled
Stupid.
Message to the White Man. But over time, M would overcome these hurdles through sheer talent. And as his flair for wordplay and eccentric persona penetrated middle America, he became the all-conquering man that retired in 2006 with Curtain Call. At that point, had he chosen to truly ride off into the sunset, M would have had a fairy tale ending like an Andre 3000. But, obviously, M didn't do this. And as he stubbornly continues to drop music even as he approaches 50, it seems like things are primed to get worse before they get better. Make no mistake,
How?
the primary guidelines for where
It's
M
relevant.
can't be disrespected have been established for a long time. And in many ways, the most concise way of explaining them came from the unlikely source of Jermaine Dupri, in which he discussed the fact that M was more likely to beef with pop stars like Britney Spears and Mariah Carey than his peers. Oh yeah, Eminem, I left you out deliberately, he said on JD's reply. You know why? Cause to me you like a character in Disney World, known for dissing pop groups and Justin's ex-girl. Don't nobody take you serious. But if you were really trying to pinpoint where it all went wrong, the revival era is where the disrespect truly began. An album that was received poorly by everyone aside from his stans, the socially conscious record, which featured the likes of Ed Sheeran and Pink, accomplished the opposite of what M intended. Rather than being any sort of resurgence, it actually proved that he was no longer the young, hungry voice of a generation, but a 40-year-old bemoaning issues in a way that the culture wasn't looking for, and it made him seem out of touch.
The BET Freestyle Cypher, love the message. I love to see a white person using their privilege to combat prejudice, but
Yes.
the bars was super subpar.
Oh,
It was a reach. Donald Trump, like, okay, hey, yeah, white boy wilding out on Trump, we love that. That act wore thin fast.
You know, there's some truth and some just fictitious bull in that message there. When M actually came out with that freestyle, everybody was on board with it. I don't remember not one person not giving him props for actually coming out and speaking about that, especially with the issues that, unfortunately, black people were going through at that point in time. So to have someone of his nature to come out and actually speak out and something like that, of course we were going to say yay. Like, it felt like somebody on the other side was supporting us. Like, but then I've always noticed Charlamagne's never liked Eminem. So I take everything he says with a grain of salt. Like, it just makes no sense. I mean, yes, it did die out kind of fast. But at the same time, you can't tell me not anyone that watched that BET show wasn't giving Eminem props for that. Like, I think that's just stupid.
He even said that on Wu Kid. He was like, yo, I was mad he
I
didn't
was
respond.
disappointed.
So that lets me know you weren't doing it because you honestly were trying to use your privilege to combat prejudice. You were just trying to get Trump to respond to you.
Where his attacks on
No. Ads.
You were just trying to get Trump to respond to you.
Where his attacks on Bush on tracks like Mosh felt vital, everything he was doing now felt try-hard. But where the songs themselves were an issue, what proved to be even more of a roadblock was how he handled the negative reception to the album. In some ways, the moment that B-Rabbit lists all of his flaws and insecurities to prevent Papa Doc from mocking him in 8 Mile used to be the case of art imitating life. Never afraid to poke fun at himself or make light of his turbulent upbringing, M's early material saw him switch up tones from aggressive to sarcastic and comical. But now, it seems as though something switched up, and instead of being unfazed by being the butt of the joke, he now exhibits his emotions on full display. With Kamikaze, the follow-up to Revival, M made a whole record as a response to the notion that he'd fallen off. The album featured Eminem taking aim at everything with more spite and less humor than ever before, signifying that the impenetrable force field around him was down.
Maybe because it doesn't sound like everything else and what most people are doing, maybe that was what tainted their ear. I remember a time in hip hop where you had to be so different from the next person or you were trash. There's a shift somewhere that happened that if it doesn't sound like everything else, then it's trash automatically.
And that's very valid. That statement right there is very true to this day. You can't turn on a radio station, listen to any radio station, and not hear the same tone of song throughout the whole day. It's going to be the same thing over and over and over again. There is really no difference between tracks these days. They all have the same auto-tune, catchy hook, 2-verse. Like, no. I think that statement is very valid. So for him to be so different, still include 3 verses in his tracks. Because I actually did listen to a little bit of Kamikaze. Lucky You was actually my joint. I love that track with him and Jordan Lucas. That was fire. And my boy would play Kamikaze for me all the time. So I thought it was actually dope. And I was like, okay, M's coming with it. But I think the statement right here that he made is just very valid. It is so true. Like back in the day, you had to be different. You had to stand out. Nowadays, you don't. You just got to be catchy. It's crazy.
Suddenly vulnerable, rather than self-assured in his position as a legend, the world collectively acknowledged the fact that his sense of invincibility was gone. And before long, everyone was taking their shot.
I'm not impressed by that because anybody at this point can memorize a bunch of fast words. Machine Gun Kelly can do that.
This sounds like a really whack rapper that's like in his mid-50s trying to do an Eminem impression with a whole bunch of dad jokes. Like, this is dad joke rap.
I don't know what album y'all heard. I heard it that knows it's over. I heard it that's fully aware that he has not said
Joe just don't like Eminem.
About a decade now. Stop just throwing names out and thinking that that's gonna be a single because you said a bunch of names. You ain't said. Find another
respond.
Muse, pull from somewhere else. You superstar been sheltered and bored. MGK is right. Y'all been slaves to your own superstardom. You don't know about M. You don't know that it's probably 3 on the label that are better than you.
While he ignored Gucci and never responded to Budden's valid questions, M would once again dedicate time to battling lesser MCs in the likes of MGK and Nick Cannon. And as pointed out by Joe Budden, it felt like rather than taking his respect as he once did, he was pining for his flowers in a way that is completely unrecognizable from Slim Shady.
But talk about all you've brought to the game. You brought a lot more than that, and all of them ain't nice. This is the first time you ever came out and said that you bodied Hove on Renegade. Why'd you say that? Blueprint came out in 2001. It's 2018. M.
Sounded like a
newsflash. You're not in the same ballpark as Hove.
With the illusion now shattered that M would destroy the career of anyone who trespassed against him, he would continue to endure more and more disrespect on a regular basis. And in some ways, it was none other than his fellow Dre protege, Snoop Dogg, that set the tone by questioning his legacy on The Breakfast Club.
Eminem, the great white hope. White rappers had zero respect in rap. Let's keep that 1,000. None. He has probably put Eminem in a position where he could be labeled as one of the top 10 rappers ever. I don't think so, but the game feels like he's top 10 lyricists and all that comes with it, but that's just because he's with Dr. Dre, and Dr. Dre helped him find the best Eminem that he could find.
Although it would have...
Like, that part right there, Snoop could have put that in such a much, much better way, because Dr. Dre helped your career and helped you find the best you that you could find. So that argument could be used for a ton of people that Dr. Dre has actually worked with. I don't think he should have discredited that man's skill. I mean, I kind of get where he was trying to go, if I'm thinking correctly here, but Snoop could have put that in such a better way. He could have put his thoughts together in such a better manner to not completely discredit Eminem or sound like a hater. Like, I get where he was trying to go. Yes, Dr. Dre helped him find the best him. He helped mold Eminem to be what he could possibly be today. But Eminem also had the skill to do so by himself. Like, you could only mold someone so far. You have to put in some work yourself, and Eminem has proven that he has done so. That's why he's still relevant. Like, the fact that Dr. Dre helped him out is great, 100%. But Eminem had to also find that within himself to actually bring that out and display it. Because ain't nobody writing for him. Dr. Dre making the beats, but Eminem had to put that pen to the pad and come out with those hits as well. Now, you know, they always put their thoughts together probably when they're in the studio. No, you should say this, you should say that. But M did that work. So I don't like how Snoop actually put that. He could have put that so much better to not completely discredit what Eminem has done. And yes, white rappers back then weren't as respected. That's well known. We get that. But that don't mean you had to disrespect Eminem by what you're saying for what he's done currently. Just my thoughts.
If admittedly taken him by surprise, it's fair to say that M's response came across as more hurt than vengeful on music to be murdered by Zeus. With Eminem spitting that, I'm used to people knocking me, but just not in my camp. Last thing I need is Snoop Dogg in me. However, the beef would blow over fairly shortly when they collaborated on the track From the D to the LBC. But while two legends hashing out their differences
That's
set a good
because Snoop
example
knew he was
to
wrong.
you can't help but take notice of the fact that this would have been inconceivable in the era where the all-powerful Slim Shady could unleash the fiercest smear campaigns pop culture has ever seen. Let's not forget, This is the man that essentially ended an incredibly prosperous career in Ja Rule and rendered someone like Moby a cultural punchline for decades in a way that he's never fully recovered from. And when it comes to signs of the reputational damage that M has suffered, none come more clear-cut than the game's complete 180 towards Shady and the prospect of feuding with him.
I used to think Eminem was better than me. He's not. Challenge it. I'm not saying I want to smoke with Eminem. I'm saying I want to smoke with Eminem, him and him.
In an effort to coax Shady into a feud, Game would release The Black Slim Shady, a 10-minute track which is dedicated to trashing M and making a mockery of his style. On top of that, he's doubled down by taking aim at one soft spot that previously brought out Marshall's most ruthless side, his daughter, Haley. Although the game's attempts to draw Shady into a feud speaks to M's relevancy and the clout that his name still holds, the fact that he's gone from cowering in fear to taking aim at M depicts how the culture's perception of Shady has changed over the years, as now, he feels he could withstand even the worst that Shady could bring, and escape with his career intact. From conceding that he was a guest in the House of Hip Hop to apologizing to the likes of Tyler the Creator and Rihanna for lyrics, M has only emphasized the weakness that he has now by making too many concessions in the genre which demands that you stick to your guns. As a result, Shady's gone from being respected for never bowing to pressures to filter his work to actively seeking to fit in with today's society when he realized that the shock tactics of the past had lost their vitality. Left with mounting criticism, one thing that hasn't helped M is the fact that those who are clearly influenced by him also command very little respect. As for every Cole or Kendrick who's paid tribute to M in the past, you have his disciples such as Hopsin, Dax, and Token who are seen as corny rather than culturally vital. With these rappers who've traced Eminem's rhyme schemes and cadence finding more ridicule than reverence, it doesn't help that, through his success, Eminem also finds himself confined to a box in terms of his artistry. And as famed battle rapper and TDE affiliate Daylight thinks, this too feeds into the disrespect he faces. As today, M's audience only want one thing from him, and it's not anything groundbreaking.
There's a lot of people in this world that don't relate to Eminem. The black community, like the super urban community, I think we like Eminem, and I'll say this because I'm an Eminem fan. We like Eminem for his wordplay, but as far as like actual content, whenever Eminem tries to go very content-based, the world doesn't with it. He dropped Kamikaze, everybody jumped back. Eminem's back, but it was a bunch of nothing, gibberish. But everybody was like, yo, Eminem's back. We've been waiting for this. He's back. Eminem, rival, he was trying to tell the world something, and they wasn't trying to hear it.
Clearly aware of the criticism that now meets his every verse, it's telling that the audience fatigue and inability to recapture his former glories is something that M has acknowledged on wax. In a moment of candidness from Kamikaze's Stepping Stone, Shady captured the very essence of the problem, spitting, "I will always be here, but that spark isn't there, and I don't know how to recapture that time and that era. I've tried hearkening back to it, but I'm fighting for air. I'm barely charting myself. Feels like I'm on the descent." Treated with even more disdain now by today's tastemakers than he ever was by the Benzino ran source, everything from the media's view of him to the comments from his fellow rappers creates the notion that Shady of today is a shell of his former self. And while Jay-Z famously remarked on the Black album that they never really miss you till you dead or you gone, it appears that before Eminem can bow out of hip-hop, he's got to reassert himself if he's ever to claim the spot that he believes he deserves in the top fives, or if he's ever to be feared as he once was long ago.
It was a cool video. Like, I think there was a lot of discrediting in that video myself. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be about fear. The man has grown. He's 50 years old. Of course, his taste in music is going to change. He doesn't need to be that old school Slim Shady no more. But, hey, to each one's own. But that was crazy. But I definitely want to see it because I used to be on that side. I used to be on that side that used to hate on him. Like, I never gave that man props for nothing. Shoot, my boys was telling me last night when we was hanging out, like, they're like, how's your Eminem journey going? Because you used to hate that man. You couldn't even stand to listen to his music. And it's so true, I couldn't. But when you start actually paying attention to what he was actually doing, it makes it more clear that the man is dope. And you can't hate on dope. Like, he's good. And you just got to give the man props as far as what he's accomplished. Because it has been hard for someone like that. Especially when you stand out in the manner that he does. And I don't mean like skin color or nothing. I just mean lyrical ability, storytelling, your song content. No one had content like him when he first came out. Not to that manner. But yeah, I've grown so much more respect for Eminem and actually listened to his first couple of albums here going. Well, I'm still listening to Marshall Mathers LP, but the Slim Shady LP, listen to some Infinite. Dude's dope. And you gotta respect him. Point blank period. That's how I'm putting it. But let me know what y'all think about the video in the comments section. Was there any valid points? Was there anything you want to combat? Let me know. Let's open that line of discussion. But I'm going to end the video off that. I'm out, y'all. And make sure you like, subscribe to the page. Deuces.